Hi friends, let's continue with Class 10 Geography Chapter 4 Agriculture. In this video, we shall discuss the technological and agriculture reforms in the field of agriculture. First, let us understand the need for these reforms. So, reforms are needed in the field of agriculture because the continuous use of land without compatible technological and institutional changes has hindered or slowed down the pace of agricultural development. So there is very primitive use of technology, and farmers still are depending upon natural sources such as natural monsoon and natural fertility of soil for their irrigation, and they are depending upon natural methods of plowing such as bullocks, etc. And all this leads to low productivity. Third, the right to inheritance has led to fragmentation of land holdings. So through division of property among the several generations, the farmers have very small patches of land to cultivate. So the division of property has resulted in very small land holdings with the farmers. This reduces the productivity of the farmers. Another problem faced by the farmers is exploitation of by local moneylenders and middlemen. So the local moneylenders charge very high rates of interest on the loans, and this results in the exploitation of farmers. Fifth, the farmers have no insurance of crops against the natural calamities like flood, fire, drought, disease, cyclone, etc. So all these problems, they lead to poor yield, and this is not good for a country like India, which has a very large and growing population to feed. Thus, there is a serious need for some serious reforms in the field of agriculture. Now, let us discuss the various technological and institutional reforms taken by the government in this field of agriculture in the wake of this problem. First, during the first 5-year plan after the independence of India, the land reforms were introduced. So in these land reforms, the major steps taken were: first, collectivization and consolidation of land holdings. So this aimed to combine the adjacent small fields to form a single large farm. Second, cooperation and abolition of zamindaris. So the zamindars who charged very high rates of interest, they had to be abolished according to this land reform. But there was lack of implementation of these land reforms. So in 1960s and 1970s, the Green Revolution and the White Revolution were introduced. The Green Revolution aimed to increase production of wheat and rice, while the White Revolution aimed to increase milk production. But the disadvantage of these revolutions was that they led to development in only few areas, and also they caused land degradation, and they caused the soil to become infertile. Then in the 1980s and 1990s, the Comprehensive Land Development Program was introduced. So in this program, it aimed at following steps. First, providing crop insurance against the natural calamities like fire, disease, drought and cyclone. Second, establishment of Grameen banks. And third, establishment of cooperative societies and banks providing cheap loans at low rates of interest. Now let us discuss about the other reforms and schemes that were introduced. First, the Kisan Credit Card. Second, Personal Accident Insurance Scheme. Third, the government also announced the minimum support price, remunerative price and procurement prices of the crops to check the exploitation by middlemen. So the government fixed a minimum price for the crops, and below that price the middleman or the trader, he could not buy the crop from the farmer. Fourth, special weather bulletins and agricultural programs for farmers were introduced on radio and television. And the fifth step taken for the benefit of farmers was the Bloodless Revolution, or the Bhudan Gramdan movement. So this movement was started by Acharya Vinoba Bhave and aimed to improve the condition of landless farmers. Once Acharya Vinoba Bhave, he was visiting Pochampally, which is a small village in Andhra Pradesh. A local landlord in that village offered to 80 acres of land to be distributed among 80 villagers in that village. This is known as Bhudan. Some zamindars also offered to donate whole villages to the landless people. This is known as Gramdan. So then this Gramdan Bhudan movement spread, and finally this came to be known as the Bloodless Revolution or the Bhudan Gramdan movement. Now this brings us to the next topic of this chapter, which is a contribution of agriculture to the national economy. So more than half of India's population is engaged in agriculture. But the share of agriculture in the GDP of the country is declining, as you can see with the help of these graphs. This declining share of agriculture in the GDP is a serious concern, as it will affect the overall economy of our country. Now, realizing this problem, the government took several steps to boost the growth in agricultural sector. First, establishment of ICAR. So this is Indian Council of Agricultural Research. Second, establishment of agricultural universities, animal breeding centers, horticulture universities, and improving the rural infrastructure. This brings us to the last topic of this chapter, that is globalization of agriculture, and in this we shall discuss how agriculture gained international exposure. First, in the 19th century, when European traders arrived in India, the Indian spices were exported to different countries of the world, and farmers in South India were encouraged to grow these crops. Second, during the colonial period, cotton belts of India attracted British, and cotton was exported to Britain. Now let us discuss the various problems due to globalization. First, Indian agricultural products were not able to compete with the developed countries because of highly subsidized agriculture in these countries. So the government provided subsidy to agriculture in the foreign countries, but in India such subsidy was not available. Thus the Indian agricultural products could not compete with the other countries. Second, Indian farmers revolted in Champaran against being forced to grow indigo, as they were unable to grow food grains to sustain these families. So the exporting of crops also resulted in few revolts, such as the indigo revolt in Champaran. With this, we come to the end of this chapter. Stay tuned for the next video. Link to PDF of notes is provided in the description box. Do subscribe if you like the video. Thank you.